Yo, okay, striker. So, look, we're back on the agenda since I decided I was going to debate again. It's back on the agenda. We're back spreading more propaganda, back spreading more misinformation, and we're back also slandering Infinity. So, to start off with, look, one of the best periods of my life, like, I woke up one day and I was like, oh wow, I don't have to talk about the propositional Rolodex this morning, and I was thinking to myself, like, gosh, sometimes, when you debate too much, and then, since you debate too much, it suddenly feels like, if you don't debate for, like, say 1-2 days, right, then it feels as if you did something wrong. It feels as if you missed something. It's like, that's exactly how I felt. I woke up one day, I was like, wow, okay, look, it's time for me to do some chores, let me revise, and I was like, hold on, I haven't spoken about Discord today. I was like, wow, I'm missing something in my life. And that was when I knew that Discord was the life for me. So, of course I had to come back and talk about the band, because this is my entire livelihood, of course. What else would I be doing with my life if I wasn't talking about the band? But anyways, yeah, look, so Yanni and I, after popularizing, Jesus Christ, popularizing the entire phrase syndicate, we've started to see that there's been an influx of, let's say, brown or Sakazuki skinned individuals, right, who decided over using the term, there have been a rise of new syndicates. Obviously we have Yugi Syndicate, where it involves either A, being this is no hate to their community, this is just a common factor, being a little bit zesty, being a little bit on the rainbow side. Then we also have being pro-choice, obviously, because you need to be pro-choice. And finally, you need to be a utilitarian, so the way you can identify these people is they probably have a has-been hotel PFP. They probably have names like Emily, Alexis, Single Phoenix, Penny, Cinta, Bunk, all of them, right? They all fit into the same category of people, right? And that syndicate is like, look, okay, there's a few respectable syndicates because, or at least these people in this syndicate, they have debates, they actually have recorded debates. I can't just sit here and call them incompetent, right? Because these people actually have debates. They are able to produce hands, they're able to produce arguments, they're able to defend arguments. They know some of what they're talking about, right? But obviously, because of the fact that they are a syndicate and there's no actual counter syndicate that has been existing so far to actually counter them and regulate the amount of hype these people are getting. I'm seeing people say that Yugi is better than Eric for some odd reason. Seeing people say that Yugi is better than Cinta. Seeing people say that Yugi probably beat the Troya in the fist fight and the Discord debate. And it's like, well, look, isn't that just trivially false that the Troya would probably fold Yugi in the fist fight, right? And it's like, well, this is what happens when people don't actually moderate or regulate syndicates, right? Obviously, you need to have some level of competition. Now, again, I know that while I was gone, we had people to carry the mantle. So, one, we had C, right? And it's like, look, C's a team player, alright? Like, C, he's the type of person who, he's integral to a team. But if you leave him alone, right, people will just shock him, right? Because, really, if you really think about it, right, most people who are in the com, right, they're American, right? And they actually, historically, they don't want to fathom the idea that they're losing a debate to a British person. And since they don't want to fathom the idea that they're losing a debate to a British person, they decide that, oh yeah, no, he's British, I'm going to vote against him on polls, right? And I think the person who's actually increasing these effects, the person who's caused all of these negative stigmas, are a few people. So, one, we have Archie, right? Obviously, Archie, from the Great Crusade that everyone's been like everyone has at least crusaded against Archie for at least one point in their life, right? Archie, I think now, since the whole loud micing stick, most people think is lame. Archie is actually attempting to actually debate using substance, but it's like, look, okay, debating using substance isn't for everybody, right? Like, obviously, there needs to be at least one person who loud mics with no substance, right? Because how else will we determine who has substance if we don't have anyone who doesn't have substance, right? And Archie, like, look, people have certain destinies, right? Archie's just destined to never have substance. So even though, yeah, I can say that, yeah, Archie, he's been studying up on his physics, he'd probably beat me in a science competition, right? But if we sit him there and we force him to debate people, right, obviously he isn't going to do very well. Not only because of the fact that he just isn't suited to making arguments, he doesn't have the medulla oblongata to properly make arguments, right? Instead, what he has, is he has rhetoric, rhetoric, quote unquote, by the way, that is, if you are convinced convinced by somebody abjectly speaking for a large amount of time without really saying much substantively, then Archie is the guy for you, right? Archie he has the greatest rhetoric of all time. If you are convinced by people talking for extended amounts of time without end, while also providing no substance while they're speaking, right? And then we also have his other counterpart. We have Infinity. You see, Infinity is kind of like the best of both worlds. Sometimes on occasion he tries to make arguments, right? But the only time in which you actually try and make a coherent argument is either one, right, where it's a moderated talking stick debate, because for some odd reason, and I don't know why, for some odd reason, people do not like having talking sticks in their debates. It's like, look, like, is there something wrong with you, right? Is there something wrong with your mind, right? Are you ill? Where you have some ingrained disposition in your brain that is causing you to instinctively want to start speaking while other people are still speaking, right? And it's like, look, that is an illness, right? And people as a community, we do not have to accommodate to people's illnesses. We don't have to say that, oh yeah, we shouldn't have a talking stick simply because the ill person, the person who can't coherently produce arguments, right, without starting their sentence in the middle of somebody else's sentence, right? We don't need to accommodate those people, right? So again, I don't think people should engage in debates with people like Infinity, right, without actually having a talking stick. Reason being because, one, not only does he just not have substance most of the time, but he will actually make you forget that he doesn't have substance, because if he speaks loud, if he does loads of theatrics, if he shoots off insults in the middle of a sentence, it may, to the, object to the newly introduced to debating eye, right, you might even find yourself being convinced. It's happened to the best of us, really. So there was a point in time where I actually thought that Archie was a tier 2 or tier 3 debater. I watched him debate Airflame, I was like, wow, the way in which he filibusters is so puff, and it's like, wow, okay, looking back on his debates now from a current perspective, based off of what I currently know, it's like, okay, well, look, he isn't really doing much. He really has nothing. So yeah, to preface, because of my absence, right, there's also been new syndicates arriving. Obviously, Infinity Syndicate has decided that it wants to make a hot new revival, right? It wants to try and become relevant again, right? And in Infinity Syndicate, obviously, trivially, we have somebody like Careless. I don't think anyone takes Careless seriously. Unanimously, I think Careless, he's just the guy you need to promote your agenda in chat. He'll be in chat saying that Infinity slammed, but really though, okay, look, so it's like, okay, nobody thinks Careless is smart, but if you see somebody incessantly saying that one person won a debate and the other person is getting slammed, you're likely to believe them, even though you know that they aren't smart. So what Careless is for, basically, Careless is he's a mobile propaganda machine where he can just, because he can just sit there and spam Infinity slamming all the time, and then he'll say, oh yeah, well, we can debate on judgment, we can debate if Infinity won. It's like, okay, well, look, he's just a walking propaganda machine, because most people don't want to interact. Most people don't want to actually listen to somebody who can barely create a sentence properly without actually either A, stumbling over his words, B, blundering, or C, just being absolutely confused on whatever topic he's talking about. Most people don't want to talk to somebody like that. And because he takes advantage of most people's inherent fear of wasting their time speaking to stupid people, then it looks as if people are ducking him in terms of oh yeah, you're ducking me, you aren't debating me on whether or not Infinity wants. It's like, look, okay, I'm not debating you. Well, actually, most people are not debating you on if Infinity won, not only because debating on people's judgments is annoying, right, but also because I'm not only debating on somebody else's judgment, but I'm also debating a stupid person on somebody else's judgment. And since I'm debating a stupid person on somebody else's judgment, I already know it's going to be a waste of time. Now, if you really look at it, right, you can say, oh my god, well, okay, who's Careless beaten? Oh, Careless beat C. It's like, okay, well, who said Careless beat C? Well, Infinity said he beat C. Is like, really, we're gonna say, yeah, man, yeah, we're supposed to believe your teacher. Your teacher said you won the debate. Wow, I'm convinced. And it's like, look, in such of situations where people are like, oh yeah, oh, why am I biased? It's like, okay, well, you're kind of asking me the same sort of question when you ask me, why is the sky blue? right? And it's like, that is the sort of factor I can become immediately acquainted with through my perceptual experience. Like, maybe I won't be able to tell you, right, why exactly the sky is blue, but from my immediate perception, I just know that the sky is blue. And it doesn't seem as if my immediate perception, right, of infinity's actions is mistaken in any way, right? Also, I don't know how that keeper didn't save that, right? But, again, like, in certain sort of cases, you just need to nod and wave, right? This is the nod and wave principle. So there are certain people in the community who specialize not in debating any inverses, right? Not in debating any philosophy, not in debating anime, right? Instead, what I call a debating not topics specialist. And what I mean by that is that they are excellent at debating. Well, I say excellent in air quotes. They are quote unquote excellent in debating anything that isn't an actual topic. Most people don't invest their time into how they judge debates. It's a sort of intuitional thing. Now, maybe there's someone like me where they actually have fleshed out views on how they should judge debates, right? There are other people who say, oh my god, rhetoric is important. How I define rhetoric? Oh yeah, I define it as argumentation. It's like, okay, well, obviously, trivially, rhetoric is important under that metric, but most people don't have that metric, right? Most people don't mean by rhetoric that this person is creating good arguments. Instead, most people just mean what they are convinced by, right? So again, there's a complete difference. If I say, like, to be rhetorical is to create good arguments, that is completely different than to be rhetorical is to be convincing, and to be convincing is to create good arguments, right? Those are two completely different things, because you can also be convincing in a variety of other manners, right? And the other manners being, oh yeah, no, his tone of voice, he's louder, so he's more appealing. It's like, okay, well, trivially, those aren't accurate metrics of judging debates, right? But again, these people, they'll sit there and they'll say, oh yeah, you're horrible, da. What feet do you have? What feet do you have? Give me your feet. Let me watch your ex. I was like, look, nobody takes you seriously, right? And the reason why nobody takes you seriously is because you dedicate your entire life to sitting there and watching debates just so you can debate other people and if they want to debate or not. And it's like, nobody intends to waste their time in such an unproductive manner when they can actually flesh out, develop, and hone the skills that they've gained through through reading up and through gaining knowledge, and actually creating an argument based off of that knowledge, right? That they've actually been able to create them for themselves, right? So again, these sort of people who they'll sit here and ask you consistently to debate on who's a better debater, I want you to apply the northern wave principle. And what this means is, right, whenever you see somebody sit there and try and debate you on who's a better debater, right, or they try and tell you your ass, just nod and say, yeah man, yeah, I'm ass, like, yeah. Also, why'd you stop the play there? I'm in front of his goal. But look, all you need to do is just sit there, nod away, because most of the time these people are trying to, oh my god, these people are trying to rage bait you, right, into actually giving them the engagement they want. Because really, if you really think about it, these people probably, they aren't committed enough to actually read a verse and do a verse that most people do, right? They'll probably do some fringe verse, like also called DC inverse, like in the big 2025, right? But like, these people, because they know that, like, they aren't competent at doing any of the verses that most people do. Instead, they'll sit here and try and debate you, right, on the most abstract topics ever. And it's like, look, all you need to do is just nod away and be like, yeah, man, I'm ass. Like, no, because really, the thing people are persuaded by is if you get in VC and actually commit yourself to arguing with these guys, right? But you don't need to do that, because not only is it a complete waste of time, most of the time these guys are actually incompetent. So you don't need to do that, right? So all you need to do is just say, oh yeah, no, I'm ass, yeah. And you'll notice, like, they'll be forced to disengage, because if they don't disengage, you just look like they're begging it, right? Like, nobody wants to sit here and listen to a beg, sit here and try and fiend for a debate, right, off of somebody who clearly doesn't want to engage, right? Like, nobody wants to do that. So again, like, these sort of people, they need to be ignored. But again, going into the Infinity Syndicate some more, we also have people like so we have Careless, Archie, right? Those are the two propaganda machines. Obviously, it's like, nobody, let's be honest with each other, nobody cares, right, what Archie thinks whenever Archie gives a judgment on an Infinity debate. Nobody cares. Nobody. Not a single soul. You don't care. I don't care. You don't say it to Archie. I'll say it to Archie, but nobody cares, right? Because he doesn't know anything about philosophy, right? He doesn't know anything about argumentation theory, right? He just doesn't know anything about a lot of things, right? Like, I've seen Archie sit here and say, oh yeah, no, I could beat Cinta. It's like, no, you bloody couldn't, mate. Like, no, you bloody couldn't, right? And I've seen him also sit here and say, oh yeah, no, I could beat Gizmo. It's like, yeah, no, you just couldn't, mate. Like, you just couldn't. It's like that one friend who sits there and tries to lie to you, right, for your respect, right? It tries to say some like BS, like, well, that just obviously didn't happen, though. Like, it just didn't happen, right? Also, did anyone people that come back? Like, it just didn't happen. Like, you're not going to beat, like, okay, let's be honest with that. You're not going to beat Gizbob. You're not going to beat Cinta. You're not Detroit level. You don't have knowledge, right? Like, yeah, sure, you could cliff him on quantum physics, right? You could probably, maybe, quote unquote, cliff Apollo on quantum physics, right? But it's like, you're just not as good as them, though. Like, again, but, you know, these people in general they're just quite confused. And I think the reason why these sorts of people have decided to rear their ugly head, right, again, is because people, like, in the debate community, like, at least, I'd say a good 99% of them, you know, of course, not the average chin reviewer, obviously, you know, the average chin reviewer, you know, you're not a sheep, you're an intellectual paragon, right, you carry your community intellectually, right, but obviously, 99% of the community, they're full of sheep, right, because they'll sit here, they'll listen. If somebody says something, if somebody says the same thing to them over and over and over again, right, they'll eventually believe it, right? If they don't end up debating you on it, right, they'll eventually believe it. The only way you'd actually be, or like, say for example, the best way to create a syndicate is either A, to have a bunch of good friends who are good, right, and then you all rep each other, or B, right, you just get a whole bunch of bad people, you beat them up so brutally, right? Or you don't even need to beat them up, you just mind hacks them so brutally, right? It's literal social engineering, but for Discord. You socially engineer them into thinking they're eternally below you, that they can never win a point against you. And once you've done that, right, you then send them out into debating other people, and then you inflate their ego when they're debating other people, so much so, right, that they're actually able to they think that the only person they can feasibly lose to is you, and then boom, you've created an effective upscale machine, because they'll put themselves high in their tier list, right, and then they'll say, oh yeah, what's it called? The Infinity? No, not Infinity though. Infinity is way better than me. Yeah, man. As Careless, sorry, not Care. Obviously, guys, the bloody name on the wall, right, that they put in the video, right, next to his good friends Trix, right, and Kage. You know, those two people. It definitely wasn't Careless. In fact, it was Care, right. Speaking of which, to go on from that, it's like, look, do you really expect me to believe you? Right, or this is like a general statement about most people who decide to go down the rabbit hole of extortion, right? Do you expect me to believe you when I ask you if you're an extorter or not? You don't say I'm not an extorter. You say there's no proof I'm an extorter. You notice how both of those two claims have entirely different connotations, because in one of those cases, right, you could say, oh yeah, you are an extorter, there's just no proof of it, right? At all, right? You like, or you could just deny it outright and say, even regardless of, like, say there's some circumstantial evidence, I'm just not an extorter. It's like, look, you're just incriminating yourself with your own wording, because basically you're trying to say that, oh yeah, no, sorry, you just can't beat me on the debate on if I'm an extorter or not, right? You aren't actually saying that it is true or false. I don't know you're an extorter. Like, those two claims don't mean the same thing. And I think whenever I see somebody say that, oh yeah, no, there's just no proof that I'm an extorter, it is entirely implicative that they are actually an extorter. They just don't think they've covered their tracks enough, right? And it's like, look, I don't think any of, like, say for example you see an extorter, I don't think any of their friends will sit there and tell you that, oh yeah, no, he's just not the type of person to be an extorter. It's like, no, nobody will tell you that these people aren't the type of people to be an extorter. No, nobody will tell you that. Nobody will say, oh yeah, no. Like, even though he is weird, even though he makes like some odd jokes from time to time, which everyone does, right, he just isn't the type of person to do that type of thing, right? They won't say that. No, they'll just say, yeah, no, I haven't seen any proof of it, right? You know, because obviously the lack of proof is definitely exonerates them, especially in cases where, like, if you surround yourself with enough scum, right, where it's like mutually assured destruction. So like, if you out them with the proof you have, right, then you also be outing yourself. It's like, dude, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm Prime Messi. Oh my god. But yeah, it's like, I just don't get it, man. Like these new syndicates and stuff, like these new people, like at least the only one I can say I respect is like the Yugi one, and then Infinity's managed to sneak his head in there. It's like, okay, why are Infinity and Archie there, right? When like everyone in Yugi's team thinks they're already way better than Infinity and Archie. It's like, I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. But yeah, once I'm done winning this game, right, I'll end the video because I'm low-key locked in right now. Oh my god! Oh my god! Do you see that? Okay, sorry. You did see that. But, yeah, cheers. Give me that free kick. It's too far for Sharon to think about. No! Oh my lord. Am I not the GOAT? But, yeah, look, it's like, I think most people, at least in the community, they've sort of drifted to a specific sort of stigma where it's like, what's it called? Where it's like, instead of actually valuing the substance of the arguments like people used to, I think people generally were reaching some sort of consensus that, you know, they were starting to value substance more than just abject yelling, right? But instead they've drifted to sort of an in-between where they listen to a bit of the substance, right? And then they just let the rhetoric overwhelm their mind, so that if you ask them why they won, they don't actually know why the argument they just named matters. Instead, they'll just repeat the argument to say, oh yeah, it wasn't that. Like, I know I saw one time where some kid called Zenny, right, was judging a debate for, what's it called? The kid called Zenny was judging a debate between Careless and Brayley versus, Careless and Brayley versus Quince and C. And he was like, oh yeah, no, I just don't think their points were addressed. And it's like, what points? And then he left, and he never elaborated. And it's like, look, okay, nobody, it's like, these people are just some serial incompetence. And it's like, I don't know how you can show your face in chat, or well, show your icon in chat, right, without shame, right, after knowing you publicly displayed yourself as a complete incompetent, right, somebody who can't even be trusted to judge a simple Discord debate. It's like, if I can't trust you to judge a Discord debate, then what can I trust you? Can I trust you with my life if I know you can't judge a Discord debate properly? It's like, really, I can't trust you with anything, right? Oh my god, look at this solo run. Oh my god, cut in. Oh my god, I couldn't be the keeper. But it's like, yeah, no, I just don't get it. I don't, the keeper should be saving that, man. The gaffer should be saving that. I just don't think, I don't think people really, I think their judgment metrics have kind of regressed, right, in comparison to what they were before. And not only have they regressed from what they were before, we're letting certain S-named people, right, just sit there and try, like, really, we have the guy for, like, coercing people in, like, maybe you could say it's like a light version of coercion, but coercing people into watching his recordings, right? Like, this isn't for one person specific, but like, say some people coercing other people into watching their recordings, knowing full well that if they say the person lost, right, that they'll try and debate green them on it, because obviously, right, like, you know, everyone knows them people, right, where what's it called, they'll try and debate you on judgment because they just can't fathom the idea of themselves losing. Right? It's like, or somebody thinking they lost. And it's like, look, I'm not obligated to tell you why I think you lost. Right? Like, it's just not an obligation of mine. Right? Like, and when people start to treat it like an obligation, oh my god, like an obligation instead of like a right, or instead of like of a favor that I'm giving you if I like decide to tell you why I think you lost the debate. Right, because that really isn't a favor. Like, I think somebody can be entirely justified, right, in saying that you lost the debate and just not telling you why, right? Unless you're like an official judge, it's like, okay, well, I'm picking you because I know you can properly tell me why, right? It's like, but if I'm just a random who's watching your debate, say someone like Kura Sakazuki asks him to watch him versus Draco or him versus C, right? And it's like, he isn't obligated to give his opinion, right? Like, he could say, oh yeah, I don't want to say who won, and like, he wouldn't be doing anything wrong by not saying who he thought won, right? Because obviously he doesn't have to, like, thinking people on Discord can force you into giving judgments is the number one killer of Discord debaters mindset. And so, if you like this video, like and subscribe. Shinra, I'm out.